I stared at the text message from my daughter-in-law, Jessica, my hands shaking. "Clean up, we'll be back late with guests." Through the kitchen window, I watched my entire family drive away in their finest clothes to celebrate my grandson Tyler's 18th birthday at the most expensive steakhouse in town. They didn't invite me. After 4 years of cooking every meal, raising their children while they traveled, sleeping in a room barely bigger than a closet, this was my thanks. I looked around the house one last time. Then I started packing. I put down my phone and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not sadness exactly. Just a strange hollow calm. I walked through the house, really seeing it for the first time in months. The living room walls were covered with family photos, but as I looked closer, I noticed something I'd been too exhausted to see before. In the recent pictures, the ones from this past year, I'd been cropped out. Or I wasn't included at all. The family trip to Disneyland last summer. Tyler's high school graduation party. Christmas morning. I was there for all of it, but you wouldn't know it from these photos. I ran my finger along the mantel, looking at the curtains I'd sewn last spring, the jade plant in the corner that I'd nursed back to health, the Afghan draped over the couch that I'd crocheted during long, lonely evenings while they went out to dinner without me. My contributions were everywhere, but I'd been erased from the family narrative. 4 years ago, my husband George died suddenly. A stroke at 62. 1 minute he was laughing at something on television, the next he was on the floor and I was screaming for help. The paramedics tried everything, but he was gone before we reached the hospital. We'd been married for 40 years. We had plans for retirement, a trip to Alaska, maybe buying a little cabin in the mountains. All of it disappeared in an instant. I spent 2 weeks in a fog after the funeral. Our house felt enormous and silent. I'd wake up in the middle of the night reaching for him, finding only cold, empty sheets. I couldn't cook because I'd always cooked for two. I couldn't watch our favorite shows. I couldn't do anything but sit in his chair and stare at the walls. That's when Ryan called. My son, my only child. His voice was warm with concern. "Mom, you shouldn't be alone in that house. Come live with us." Jessica agrees. "We want you here. We have plenty of room, and the kids would love having their grandma around." It felt like a lifeline. I wouldn't be alone. I'd be useful again. I'd have family around me. I sold our house. The house where George and I had raised Ryan, where we'd celebrated birthdays and anniversaries, where we'd built our life together. It was paid off, worth $250,000. I gave Ryan and Jessica $175,000 to help with their mortgage and to start college funds for Tyler and Emma. I kept $75,000 for myself, for emergencies, for retirement, for whatever might come. I moved into their home believing I'd found a soft place to land. The first year was good. Jessica called me Mom. We cooked together. I helped with Tyler and Emma, drove them to soccer practice and piano lessons. I felt needed, wanted. The second year, things started to shift. Jessica began asking me to babysit so she could go out with her friends. Not asking, really, telling. "Alyssa, I need you to watch the kids tonight. We're going to a wine tasting." She'd stopped calling me Mom somewhere along the way, and I hadn't even noticed when. By the third year, the requests had become demands. "Alyssa, the bathroom needs cleaning." "Alyssa, I need you to do the grocery shopping. Here's the list." "Alyssa, don't use the guest bathroom. That's for real guests." I was no longer family. I was help. This fourth year had been the worst. Jessica didn't even pretend anymore. She ordered me around like I was hired staff. When they went to Napa Valley for a long weekend, she didn't ask if I'd watch the kids, she told me. When her book club friends came over, I was expected to serve appetizers and then disappear. When they had family photos taken for their Christmas card, the photographer never called me into the frame. Ryan never said a word. Every time I tried to talk to him about how Jessica treated me, he'd sigh and say, "Mom, just keep the peace. You know how Jessica is. She's under a lot of stress." As if I wasn't. As if my feelings didn't matter. And now this. Today's ultimate betrayal. This morning, I'd heard Jessica on the phone in the kitchen, her voice bright and excited. "Yes, reservation for 8 at Morton's Steakhouse. 7 o'clock tonight. It's my son's 18th birthday. We want to make it special." 8 people, I'd counted in my head. Ryan, Jessica, Tyler, Tyler's girlfriend Sarah, Emma, Ryan's brother Tom and his wife Kate, and me, 8. When everyone started getting dressed around 5:30, I went to my room and put on my nicest dress, the navy blue one with the pearl buttons that George always said made my eyes look bright. I brushed my hair, put on lipstick. I was ready to celebrate my grandson's birthday. Jessica appeared in my doorway. Her face was cold. "What are you doing?" "Getting ready for dinner," I said, confused. "Alyssa, the reservation is for family. We need you to stay here and clean up. Plus, we're bringing guests back after for drinks and dessert. The house needs to be perfect." The words hit me like a slap. Family. I wasn't family. But Tyler is my grandson. It's his birthday. And you can celebrate with him tomorrow. Tonight is for his immediate family and friends. Now, I need you to make sure the living room is vacuumed and the powder room is spotless. We'll be back around 11. She walked away before I could respond. Just walked away, like I was nothing. I stood in my doorway and watched them all leave. Tyler looked uncomfortable when he passed my room, but he didn't say anything. Emma was on her phone, oblivious. Ryan grabbed his keys and avoided my eyes completely. They all piled into 2 cars, laughing, excited, dressed in their finest clothes. Then Jessica's text came through. "Clean up, we'll be back late with guests." Not please. Not thank you. Just an order. I walked back through the house to my bedroom. The smallest room, barely bigger than a closet. It used to be Ryan's home office, but they'd converted it when I moved in. There was space for a twin bed, a narrow dresser, and nothing else. My clothes were crammed into a closet I shared with their winter coats and stored holiday decorations. I pulled my suitcases from the top shelf. I packed methodically. My clothes, my photos of George, my mother's jewelry, my important documents. Birth certificate, social security card, George's death certificate, bank statements, everything that was truly mine. I took my recipe box from the kitchen, my grandmother's recipes, the ones Jessica always used and claimed as her own. "Oh, this? Just something I threw together," she'd say to guests, serving my grandmother's famous lasagna. That's when I saw my bank statements on the counter. I'd been meaning to file them. I picked them up and my heart sank. My $75,000, it was nearly gone. I had $12,000 left. $12,000. How had this happened? Then I remembered. All these years, I'd been paying for groceries, for utilities, for household items. Just pitch in for expenses, Jessica had said early on. Since you're living here rent-free. Rent-free. As if I didn't earn my keep 10 times over with childcare, cooking, and cleaning. I looked around the kitchen at the mess they'd left. Dishes piled in the sink from lunch. Tyler's lacrosse gear on the floor. Jessica's expensive purse on the counter, the $2,000 designer one she'd bought last month. The liquor cabinet stood open, full of expensive bottles that Ryan's clients had given him over the years. Hundreds of dollars worth of top-shelf whiskey and wine. An idea formed in my mind. They wanted me to be their servant? They wanted to humiliate me, exclude me, erase me? Fine. But I wouldn't just disappear quietly. I walked through the house gathering things. I took every family photo that included me. I left the empty frames on the walls. I took the expensive bottles of liquor from the cabinet, the ones Jessica had planned to serve her guests tonight. I loaded them carefully into boxes in my car. I took the spare house keys from the drawer. I took the garage door openers from the hook. I took the checkbook for the joint household account, the one with my name on it too. I didn't clean anything. In fact, I made it worse. I opened the refrigerator and took out all the expensive food I'd bought for the week. The imported cheeses, the prosciutto, the organic steaks, the fresh pasta from the Italian market. All of it went into coolers in my trunk. I took the fluffy towels from the guest bathroom, the ones Jessica insisted guests use. I left old threadbare ones in their place. Then I walked through the house one more time. I turned every light on. I left every faucet dripping, just slightly. I cranked the heat up to 85 degrees. Let them come home to a sweltering, blazing, water-wasting house. Finally, I wrote a note. I kept it simple. No emotions, no accusations, just facts. I hope you enjoy your family dinner. I've gone to enjoy my life. Don't contact me. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. Alyssa. I left it on the kitchen counter, propped against Jessica's designer purse. It was 6:30 when I loaded the last box into my car. A small sedan I'd bought with my own money, the one thing they couldn't control. I took one last look at the house that had never been my home. Then I got in my car and drove away. As I pulled onto the highway, my phone started buzzing. Ryan calling. Then Jessica. Then text messages started flooding in. I turned off the phone. I couldn't face them yet. I needed to think. That's when it hit me. Where was I going? I had no plan. In my rush to escape, to reclaim some shred of dignity, I hadn't thought about what came next. I had $12,000 to my name. No home. No plan. And then something worse occurred to me. Last month, Jessica had asked me to sign some papers. Just updating the household accounts for tax purposes, she'd said, sliding a stack of documents across the kitchen table. Sign here and here. I'd signed without reading carefully. I trusted her. What if those papers were something else? What if I'd signed away something important? My hands started shaking on the steering wheel. I pulled over at a rest stop, my heart pounding. I sat in the parking lot under the fluorescent lights, watching families come and go, and realized I might have made a terrible mistake. I pulled out my phone and turned it back on. 53 missed calls. 37 text messages. I ignored them all and scrolled to a different number. My younger brother, Frank. He lived 2 hours north, in a small town near the Oregon border. He answered on the second ring. Alyssa? Is everything okay? Frank, I said, and my voice broke. I need help. I think I've made a terrible mistake. Come here, Frank said immediately. Drive safe. Helen and I will be waiting. I drove north through the darkness, my headlights cutting through the night. The 2 hours felt like 20. Every mile, I questioned everything. Should I have stayed? Should I have fought differently? Should I have just cleaned up and kept my mouth shut like always? No. I'd been right to leave. I knew that in my bones. But the fear of what came next was crushing. I arrived at Frank's house a little after 9. It was a modest ranch-style home with a vegetable garden out front and wind chimes on the porch. The porch light was on. Frank and his wife Helen were waiting at the door. Helen pulled me into a hug immediately. Come in, sweetheart. You look exhausted. They led me to their living room, and Helen made tea while I tried to explain what had happened. Everything came spilling out. The years of being treated like help. The exclusion from Tyler's birthday dinner. The humiliation. The escape. Frank's face grew darker with every sentence. Ryan always was weak, he finally said. Even as a kid, he'd go along with whoever had the strongest personality. But I never thought he'd let someone treat his own mother like this. It's Jessica, I said. She's the one who... Jessica wouldn't have any power if Ryan didn't give it to her, Frank interrupted. He's a grown man. He chose his wife over his mother. That's his failure. Helen brought the tea and sat beside me. Tell us about the papers you signed. I pulled the copies from my purse. I'd kept them, thankfully, even though I hadn't read them carefully. Frank took them, and his face changed as he scanned the pages. Alyssa, he said slowly, these aren't household account updates. You signed a power of attorney. You gave Jessica legal authority over your financial decisions. The room tilted. What does that mean? It means she can access your bank accounts. She can make financial decisions on your behalf. She can. He kept reading, his jaw tightening. This is a broad power of attorney. She has almost complete control. Can we revoke it? Helen asked. Yes, but we need to do it officially. File paperwork with the banks, make it legal. He looked at me. But it's Friday night. Banks are closed until Monday. If Jessica has your account information and these power of attorney documents, she could drain my accounts this weekend, I finished. Yes, I felt sick. I need to check my balance. I tried to log into my bank account on my phone. Error message. Your account access has been locked for security purposes. Please contact customer service. I called the emergency number. After 20 minutes on hold, a representative told me they were updating account information at the request of someone with power of attorney. They couldn't tell me more until Monday. This was planned, I said quietly. She got me to sign those papers a month ago. She's been planning this. Frank's hands curled into fists. We'll go to the bank first thing Monday morning. We'll fix this. But Monday felt like a lifetime away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in Frank and Helen's guest room, staring at the ceiling, listening to their old house settle and creak. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jessica's cold face. The reservation is for family. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzly. I felt like I hadn't slept at all. Helen made breakfast, but I could barely eat. At 10 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. Frank answered it, and I heard official voices. Police. My heart stopped. 2 officers stood on the porch, looking uncomfortable. We're looking for Alyssa Henderson. We have a report of theft. I walked to the door. I'm Melissa Henderson. The older officer, a woman with kind eyes, consulted her notes. Ma'am, we have a report from a Jessica Henderson claiming you took items from her home yesterday. Designer purse, liquor bottles, food items, household valuables. Those are my things, I said, or things I purchased. Do you have receipts? I didn't. The purse was Jessica's, and I'd left it behind. The liquor, the food, I'd bought with household money, but I had no way to prove it. Ma'am, we can't arrest you, the officer said. This appears to be a civil matter, but your family is very upset. They say you're not mentally stable, that they're worried about you. There it was, the narrative Jessica was building. Not that I'd left because of abuse, but that I was mentally ill. I'm perfectly stable, I said. I left because I was being mistreated. The officers exchanged glances. We're just following up on the report, but if there's a dispute about property, you'll need to resolve it through civil court. Do you understand? Yes. They left, but the message was clear. Jessica was already controlling the story. That afternoon, Ryan called Frank's landline. Frank answered, his voice hard. I need to speak to my mother. Frank put him on speaker. She's here. Say what you need to say. Mom, what the hell is going on? Jessica is hysterical. You stole from us. You need to come back and apologize. I took what was mine, I said. The liquor? The food? That's theft. And you need to tell me about the papers you signed last month. What papers? There was a pause. What papers? The power of attorney papers. Why did Jessica have me sign them? Another pause. Mom, those were just to help you manage your accounts. We're worried about you. You're getting older. You forget things sometimes. We thought it would be easier if Jessica could help. I'm 63, not 93. I don't forget things, and I want to revoke that power of attorney. We can talk about this when you come home. I'm not coming home. Ryan's voice hardened. Then you're making this very difficult. Jessica has lawyer friends. Don't make us do this the hard way. Do what the hard way? He hung up. I looked at Frank and Helen. They're going to do something. Something bad. Sunday morning, a courier arrived with an envelope. Inside was a letter from a law firm, Patterson, Chen, and Associates. I read it twice, not believing what I was seeing. Jessica and Ryan were petitioning for emergency guardianship. They claimed I was mentally incompetent, a danger to myself. The letter listed concerning behaviors, wandering off without explanation, confusion and disorientation, theft, paranoid accusations, refusal to accept help. The hearing was scheduled for Wednesday, 3 days away. They're trying to get legal control over you, Frank said, reading over my shoulder. Your finances, your medical decisions, everything. Helen's face was pale. Can they do that? If they convince a judge you're incompetent? Yes. I felt the walls closing in. Jessica's plan. It was never just to get rid of me. She wants to control everything I have left. My social security, any benefits, any assets. Frank grabbed his phone. I'm calling a lawyer. You need representation. He spent an hour on the phone, finally finding someone who would see us Monday morning. A lawyer named Maria Santos who specialized in elder law. But as I sat in Frank's living room that Sunday afternoon, I realized how thoroughly Jessica had trapped me. She had power of attorney over my finances. She'd convinced the police I was unstable. She had Ryan backing her up, and now she was going to court to make it official. I looked at George's photo in my hands, the one I'd packed when I left. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. Frank heard me. Stop. You have nothing to apologize for. We're going to fight this. But I wasn't sure how we could win. Monday morning, Frank drove me to the bank as soon as it opened. We waited in the parking lot until the doors unlocked at 9, then walked straight to the manager's desk. I need to see my accounts, I told her. All of them. The manager, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, pulled up my information. Her face changed as she scrolled through the screen. Mrs. Henderson, there have been several transactions over the weekend. Show me. She turned the screen. My $12,000 was down to $300. Over Saturday and Sunday, Jessica had made multiple withdrawals. $500 here, $1,000 there, $4,000 on Sunday morning. Cash withdrawals and transfers to an account under Jessica's name. These were all authorized, Patricia said carefully. Someone with power of attorney made them. I'm revoking that power of attorney right now, I said, my voice shaking. Do you have the revocation paperwork? Maria Santos, the lawyer Frank had found, spoke up. She'd met us at the bank. We're filing it today. But those withdrawals were made before the revocation. The bank acted legally. So the money is just gone? I asked. Maria's face was sympathetic but firm. I'm afraid so. Unless we can prove the power of attorney was obtained through fraud or coercion, those were legal transactions. $300. That's what I had left in the world. We filed the power of attorney revocation paperwork. At least Jessica couldn't take the last $300, but the damage was done. At Maria's office an hour later, she spread the guardianship petition across her desk. This is serious, she said. They have statements from multiple people claiming you're incompetent. She read them aloud. Tyler had written a statement. My grandmother has been acting strange lately. She forgets things, gets confused about dates, seems disoriented. I'm worried about her. Ryan's brother Tom had written one too. My sister-in-law seems increasingly paranoid and confused. She makes accusations that don't make sense. Even neighbors. We've seen her talking to herself in the yard, looking disheveled. All lies. All carefully coordinated lies. They've been building this case for weeks, Maria said. Maybe months. The birthday dinner exclusion might have been designed to make you react, to make you leave and seem unstable. This was premeditated, I said. Yes. And that's going to make it harder to fight. They look like concerned family members trying to help an elderly woman in decline. You look like someone fighting against help. So what do? We prove you're competent. We gather our own witnesses. We show the pattern of financial abuse. She pulled out a notepad. Tell me everything, from the beginning. I told her everything. Moving in 4 years ago, giving them the money, the gradual shift from family to servant, the exclusion, the humiliation, the power of attorney. I need to investigate Jessica's background, Maria said. If she's done this before, we can establish a pattern. Jessica never talks about her family, I said. She told me her mother died 6 years ago, before she and Ryan got married. She said they weren't close. Maria wrote that down. Let me see what I can find. Tuesday, we prepared for Wednesday's hearing. Maria coached me on how to present myself in court. You need to appear calm, rational, prepared, she said. No emotional outbursts, no crying. Answer questions clearly and simply. But I was exhausted. I hadn't slept properly in days. My blood pressure was up. I could feel it. My hands shook. The stress was eating me alive. That's normal stress, Maria said when I mentioned it. But in court, it could look like instability. You need to pull yourself together. Frank and Helen helped me practice answers to questions. What happened the day you left? Why did you take items from the house? Are you taking your medications? Do you feel confused or disoriented? I practiced staying calm, speaking clearly. But inside, I was terrified. That evening, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize, but I answered. Grandma? Tyler. My heart leaped. Tyler, sweetheart. I need to talk to you. His voice was cold, flat. Of course. I've missed you so much. Why did you lie about Mom? The words hit like ice water. What? Why did you tell people she tricked you? That she stole from you? Tyler. I didn't lie. She took money without my permission. Mom showed me the bank records, Grandma. You gave her that money. You said it was for my college fund. She has your signature on everything. My mind raced. Tyler, she used power of attorney to take money without asking me. That's not the same as giving it. She says you're confused, that you don't remember things correctly. And I've seen it, Grandma. You do forget stuff sometimes. What are you talking about? Last Thanksgiving, you forgot it was Thanksgiving. You asked what we were celebrating. And you've asked me the same questions multiple times, like you don't remember we already talked. None of that was true. Tyler, I never forgot Thanksgiving. Your mother is lying. Why would she lie? She's my mom. She loves me. You're the one who ran away. You're the one acting crazy. Tyler, please listen to me. I can't believe I trusted you. Mom said you'd try to turn me against her. She was right. You sound paranoid, Grandma, just like Mom said. Tyler. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, shaking. Jessica had gotten to him. She'd twisted everything. My own grandson thought I was losing my mind. Frank found me crying in the guest room. What happened? I told him about Tyler's call. She's turned him against me. She's turned everyone against me. Not everyone. Helen and I believe you. Maria believes you. We're going to fight this. But I'd lost my grandson. And tomorrow, I might lose everything else. Late Tuesday night, Maria called. Alyssa, my investigator found something. Can we meet first thing in the morning, before the hearing? What did you find? I'd rather show you in person. Come to my office at 7. Wednesday morning, Frank, Helen, and I arrived at Maria's office at 7 sharp. Maria's private investigator was there, a woman named Sandra who looked like someone's grandmother but had the sharp eyes of a hawk. Tell her what you found, Maria said. Sandra opened a folder. I looked into Jessica Bradley's background. Her mother, Margaret Bradley, died 6 years ago in a nursing home. But here's the interesting part. Margaret had over $300,000 in savings. She'd been a school teacher for 35 years, lived frugally, invested wisely. Jessica has money? I asked, confused. No. Jessica's mother died with $17 in her account. Within 6 months of Jessica getting power of attorney over her mother's finances, all $300,000 was gone. The room went silent. Jessica drained her own mother's accounts? Frank said. Margaret's younger sister, Diane, tried to investigate. She accused Jessica of financial elder abuse, but Margaret died before anything could be proven. The case was closed. Maria slid more documents across the table. Bank statements showing the rapid depletion of Margaret's accounts, Diane's complaint to Adult Protective Services, a police report that went nowhere. Alyssa, Jessica has done this before. She did it to her own mother. Now she's doing it to you. I stared at the papers, my hands numb. Her mother died alone and penniless because of her. Yes. And we can use this in court today. It establishes a pattern of financial abuse. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Will it be enough? I don't know, Maria said honestly. But it's something. 2 hours later, I walked into the courthouse for the hearing that would determine my freedom. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Fluorescent lights, wooden benches, an American flag in the corner. But it felt enormous, oppressive, as I walked in with Maria and Frank. Jessica and Ryan were already there, sitting at the plaintiff's table with their lawyer, a polished man in an expensive suit. Jessica looked perfect. Hair styled, makeup subtle, wearing a modest dress that screamed concerned family member. When she saw me, she dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Ryan wouldn't meet my gaze. Tyler sat in the gallery, looking miserable. His girlfriend Sarah sat beside him, holding his hand. Emma, my 13-year-old granddaughter, was on Ryan's other side. She looked confused, scared. The bailiff called the court to order. Judge Morrison, a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair, took the bench. This is a petition for emergency guardianship, she said. Mr. Patterson, you may present your case. Jessica's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we're here today because of deep concern for Mrs. Alyssa Henderson. Her family loves her, but they're watching her decline and are desperate to help. He called Jessica to the stand first. Jessica walked to the witness box, moving slowly, like she was carrying a great weight. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. Mrs. Henderson, please describe your relationship with the respondent. Alyssa is my mother-in-law, Jessica said, her voice soft and pained. She's lived with us for 4 years, since her husband died. We love her so much. She's family. Has her behavior changed recently? Yes. Jessica's voice broke. It's been gradual, but over the past year we've noticed concerning things. She forgets conversations. She'll ask the same questions over and over. Last month, she left the stove on 3 times. We found her outside at 2 in the morning once, in her nightgown, saying she was going to meet George, her husband, who's been dead for 4 years. Lies. All lies. But Jessica delivered them perfectly. We tried to get her to see a doctor, but she refused. She became paranoid, accusing me of trying to control her. Then last Friday, she had some kind of episode. She left the house, took items that didn't belong to her, and disappeared. We were terrified something had happened to her. What items did she take? My purse. Expensive liquor my husband had received as gifts. Food from our refrigerator. She left the house in chaos, all the lights on, water running. It was like she was trying to destroy something. And why are you seeking guardianship? Jessica wiped her eyes. Because I'm afraid she'll hurt herself. She has high blood pressure, she needs medication, but she's refusing to take care of herself. She needs help, Your Honor. Professional help. We just want her to be safe. I wanted to scream. Every word was a lie. But Maria had warned me. Stay calm, stay quiet, your turn will come. Ryan testified next. He looked tired, guilty, but he backed up Jessica's story. My mother hasn't been herself since my father died. I thought having her live with us would help, but she's gotten worse. The paranoia, the forgetfulness. I'm worried about her. Do you believe your mother is capable of managing her own affairs? The lawyer asked. No, Ryan said quietly. I don't think she is. He wouldn't look at me. Then Tyler was called. My grandson walked to the stand looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Tyler, you're 18 years old, correct? Yes. You've lived with your grandmother for 4 years? Yes. Have you noticed changes in her behavior? Tyler fidgeted. She seems, I don't know, confused sometimes. She forgot it was Thanksgiving last year. She asks me stuff we've already talked about. Maria stood for cross-examination. Tyler, did your grandmother actually forget it was Thanksgiving, or did someone tell you she did? My mom said she did. So you didn't witness it yourself? No. And these repeated questions, can you give me a specific example? Tyler thought. I can't remember exactly. So you don't have a specific memory of her asking you the same question twice? No, I guess not. Maria sat down. A small crack in their case, but not enough. The lawyer called a psychiatrist next, Dr. Raymond Foster, who'd never met me but had reviewed the family's reports. Based on the described symptoms, what's your professional opinion? Based on the reports, Mrs. Henderson appears to be experiencing cognitive decline, possibly early-stage dementia or stress-induced confusion. The paranoia, the memory issues, the impulsive behavior of running away, these are all consistent with someone who needs supervision. Maria objected. Your Honor, Dr. Foster has never evaluated Mrs. Henderson in person. This is pure speculation. Noted, Judge Morrison said. But I'll allow the testimony. The morning dragged on. Witness after witness, building the case that I was incompetent, dangerous to myself, in need of supervision. Finally, it was our turn. Maria called her private investigator first. Sandra presented the evidence about Jessica's mother, the $300,000 that disappeared, the accusations of abuse, the pattern. This shows that Jessica Bradley has a history of financial exploitation of elderly family members. Jessica's lawyer objected immediately. Your Honor, that case was closed. No charges were filed. This is speculation and character assassination. The pattern is relevant, Maria argued. Judge Morrison considered. I'll allow the evidence, but the court notes that no criminal charges resulted from that investigation. Not a victory, but not a total loss. Maria called Frank next. He testified about my lucidity, my competence, how I'd always managed my own affairs before moving in with Ryan and Jessica. But Frank was family. His testimony was seen as biased. Then Maria called me. I walked to the witness stand on shaking legs. I swore to tell the truth, sat down, and tried to steady my breathing. Mrs. Henderson, please tell the court what happened the day you left your son's house. I told the story. The birthday dinner, the exclusion, the text message telling me to clean up, the years of being treated like a servant, the humiliation. I left because I couldn't stay anymore, not because I'm confused or sick, because I was being abused. Jessica's lawyer stood for cross-examination. He was smooth, practiced, dangerous. Mrs. Henderson, you're under a lot of stress, aren't you? Yes, but... Yes or no, please? Yes. And you've had trouble sleeping recently? Because they. Yes or no? Yes. You've been forgetful? Emotional? No, that's not. Mrs. Henderson, please answer the question. Have you been forgetful and emotional? I've been upset, not forgetful. Isn't it true that you can't remember signing the power of attorney documents? I remember signing, but Jessica told me they were for something else. So you signed legal documents without reading them carefully? I trusted her. You trusted her, but now you're accusing her of theft. That seems contradictory, doesn't it? She lied to me. Or perhaps you simply don't remember the conversations correctly? He kept twisting my words, making me sound confused, paranoid, unreliable. Every answer I gave, he turned against me. I could feel the judge watching, evaluating, and I knew how I must look. Emotional, flustered, stressed. Exactly how an incompetent person would look. When I stepped down, I knew we were losing. Judge Morrison called a recess to deliberate. Maria, Frank, Helen, and I waited in the hallway. None of us spoke. There was nothing to say. 45 minutes later, we were called back in. Judge Morrison looked grave. This is a difficult case. The court recognizes that there are serious allegations on both sides. Mrs. Henderson's testimony suggests possible financial abuse. However, the family has presented compelling evidence of cognitive decline and concerning behavior. My heart sank. I'm not prepared to grant full guardianship at this time, the judge continued. However, given Mrs. Henderson's recent health issues, stress, and the conflicting testimonies, I am ordering a temporary limited conservatorship. Jessica and Ryan Henderson will have limited authority over Alyssa Henderson's major financial decisions for a period of 30 days. During this time, Mrs. Henderson will undergo a complete psychiatric evaluation by a court-appointed professional. She will also engage in counseling. At the end of 30 days, we will reconvene. If Mrs. Henderson is found competent, the conservatorship will be lifted. If not, we will consider a permanent arrangement. The gavel came down. I'd lost. Not completely, but enough. For 30 days, Jessica and Ryan had control, and I had to prove my competence to a stranger who would be evaluating me while I was under the most stress of my life. As we left the courtroom, Jessica was smiling. Ryan looked relieved. Tyler wouldn't look at me. I'd lost my grandson. I'd lost my freedom, and I was running out of time. We walked out into the bright afternoon sunlight. I felt disconnected from my body, like I was floating. Then the pain hit. Sharp, crushing pain in my chest. I couldn't breathe. Alyssa? Frank's voice sounded far away. My knees buckled. I grabbed Frank's arm, but my grip was weak. Call 911, Maria shouted. The last thing I saw before everything went black was the cloudless blue sky above the courthouse steps. I woke up in a hospital bed. Fluorescent lights, beeping machines, an IV in my arm. For a confused moment, I thought it was the day George died, that I'd find him in the bed next to me. But George was gone, and I was alone. A nurse appeared beside me. Mrs. Henderson, you're awake. How are you feeling? What happened? You had a cardiac event on the courthouse steps. Not a full heart attack, but a serious warning sign. Your blood pressure was dangerously high. We're monitoring you. Frank appeared in the doorway. Thank God. You scared us half to death. How long have I been here? 6 hours. It's 9 at night. I need to leave. Absolutely not, the nurse said firmly. You're staying overnight at minimum. The doctor wants to run more tests in the morning. I sank back into the pillows. Even this, my health crisis, would be used against me. More evidence that I was unstable, unable to care for myself. Frank sat beside me. Helen went home to get you some things. Maria is handling paperwork. You need to rest. I can't rest. I have 30 days to prove I'm competent, and now I'm in a hospital bed. Then we'll fight from here. But I could see the worry in his eyes. Visiting hours ended at 8, but Frank argued until they let him stay until 10. After he left, I lay in the darkness, listening to machines beep and distant voices in the hallway. Around 11, a nurse came in. Not my regular nurse. Someone I hadn't seen before. Young, nervous-looking. She avoided eye contact. Mrs. Henderson, I need to give you your medication. She held out a small cup with 2 pills. Something felt wrong. What are these? Your prescribed medication. I don't take any medication except my blood pressure pills, and I already had those. These are additional, to help you sleep. My instinct screamed, I don't want them. The doctor ordered them. Which doctor? She hesitated. I'll check. She left quickly. I waited, my heart pounding. She didn't come back. Instead, my regular nurse appeared 30 minutes later with my actual medications. Did someone just try to give me sleep medication? I asked. Not according to your chart. Why? A nurse was just here with pills I didn't recognize. The nurse frowned. Let me check with the supervisor. 20 minutes later, a different nurse came in with the hospital administrator. They questioned me carefully, described the nurse, reviewed security footage. Mrs. Henderson, someone claiming to be your daughter-in-law signed paperwork this afternoon authorizing additional medication for you, anti-anxiety drugs and sedatives. I never agreed to that. She had legal documentation, something called a limited conservatorship. Jessica, using the court order to drug me. Those medications combined with your heart condition could have been dangerous, the administrator said. We're investigating how this happened, and we're putting a note on your chart. No medications without your explicit consent and verification from your primary physician. After they left, I lay in the darkness, shaking. Jessica had tried to drug me, to make me actually incompetent, to make me so drowsy and incoherent that I'd fail any psychiatric evaluation. She wasn't just trying to steal my money, she was trying to destroy me completely. Morning came. The doctor examined me, looked at test results, and delivered more bad news. Mrs. Henderson, you've had a stress-induced cardiac event. Your blood pressure is still elevated. You need to reduce stress significantly, or you're at risk for a stroke or heart attack. I'm in the middle of a court battle, I said. I can't reduce stress. Then you're risking your life. He wanted to keep me another day, but I refused. I needed to get out, to think clearly, to plan. Every day in the hospital was another day Jessica could manipulate the narrative. I signed myself out against medical advice. Frank picked me up, looking worried but not arguing. Back at Frank and Helen's house, Maria was waiting with urgent news. My investigator dug deeper into Jessica and Ryan's finances. They're drowning. Over $200,000 in debt. Ryan's consulting business is failing. They've missed 3 mortgage payments. They're facing foreclosure. So this is about money. Desperation. That $175,000 you gave them 4 years ago? Gone within 18 months. They've been living beyond their means for years. Now they're banking on getting control of your assets to save themselves. I have $300 to my name. You have Social Security. Pension benefits from George's company. They can access those if they have guardianship. They can force you to take out loans, credit cards. To them, you're not a person. You're a financial resource. The coldness of it stunned me. Helen came out to the porch where we Saturday Alyssa. There's something I need to tell you. I should have said it sooner. She sat down, looking guilty. 2 years ago, at Christmas, we were all at Ryan and Jessica's house. I went to the kitchen to help with dishes, and I overheard Jessica and Ryan talking in the pantry. They didn't know I was there. What did they say? Jessica said, "Your mother is the answer to our money problems. She trusts us completely. We just need to be patient," Ryan said. "She'll never question anything. And when she's older, more confused, we'll have complete control." I felt cold. 2 years ago. They've been planning this for 2 years. I thought it was just talk. They'd been drinking. I didn't realize they actually meant to. Helen's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. You're telling me now." That's what matters. But inside, I was reeling. This had been planned. Carefully, methodically. The power of attorney. The birthday dinner exclusion designed to provoke me. The court case, all of it orchestrated. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the guest room, staring at George's photo. "I can't do this," I whispered to the picture. "I can't fight them. They're too smart, too prepared, and I'm so tired." I'd lost my home, my money, my health. I'd lost Tyler. In 30 days, I'd lose my freedom completely. Maybe it would be easier to just give up. Go to whatever facility Jessica chose. Let them have whatever they wanted. At least the fighting would stop. I looked at George's photo again. I'm sorry. I failed. There was a knock on my door. Alyssa? Tyler's voice. I opened the door. My grandson stood there, eyes red from crying. Can I come in? I let him in. We sat on the edge of the bed, not speaking for a long moment. I heard Mom and Dad fighting tonight, Tyler finally said. I came here instead of going home. What were they fighting about? Me. I told them I didn't want to testify anymore, that I wasn't comfortable with what's happening. Dad said I needed to support the family, Mom said. He stopped. What did she say? She said your college fund is gone, that they spent it, but that once they have full control over you, they'll get more money. She said I just needed to keep playing along. Tyler looked at me, devastated. Grandma, my college fund. The money you gave for me? It's gone? Yes. They lied to me. About everything. I know. I'm so sorry. I believed her. I thought you were sick, but she's been lying about everything, hasn't she? Yes. Tyler wiped his eyes. What can I do? How can I help? Tyler, if you testify against your parents, they'll kick you out. You start college in 3 months. You need them. I don't care. They've been using me. Using you. Using everyone. It's not right. Tyler. No, Grandma. You taught me to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I'm testifying. I'm telling the truth. I pulled him into a hug, and we both cried. After Tyler left, promising to come back tomorrow, I sat alone again, but something had shifted. My grandson believed me, chose me. I wasn't completely alone after all. The next morning, there was a knock at Frank's door. A woman stood on the porch, professional-looking, in her mid-30s. Is Alyssa Henderson here? Who's asking? Frank said warily. My name is Lauren Bradley. I'm Jessica's younger sister. She looked at me through the screen door. And I need to tell you what she did to our mother. We let her in. Lauren sat in Frank's living room, a folder of documents on her lap. I've been looking for you for weeks, she said. Ever since I heard Jessica married into the Henderson family and her new mother-in-law moved in, I knew she'd do it again. Do what again? I asked. What she did to our mother, Margaret Bradley, my mom. Lauren opened the folder. Mom died 6 years ago in a nursing home. Alone. Penniless. But that's not how it should have ended. She spread documents across the coffee table. Bank statements, legal papers, medical records. Mom was a teacher for 35 years. She saved every penny, invested carefully. When Dad died 10 years ago, she had $320,000. She was supposed to have a comfortable retirement. Then Jessica convinced her to sign over power of attorney, said it would make things easier. Mom trusted her. Lauren's voice hardened. Within 6 months, the money was gone. Jessica drained every account. When I questioned her, she said Mom spent it. On what? Mom lived in a modest apartment, drove a 10-year-old car. I tried to investigate, filed complaints, but Mom died before anything could be proven. Jessica cut me off completely, threatened to destroy my career if I kept asking questions. I'm a CPA. She said she'd report me for fraud, make up lies. I backed off. But I never stopped watching her. I knew if she married again, she'd find another victim. When I heard about you, I started investigating. Why didn't you warn me earlier? I asked. I tried. I called Ryan's office 6 months ago, asked to speak with you, Jessica answered. She told me you'd moved out, that she didn't have your contact information. She was lying. Maria leaned forward. What evidence do you have? Lauren pulled out more documents. Everything. Mom's bank records showing the systematic drain. Emails between Jessica and a boyfriend she had at the time, discussing how much longer she needed to wait before Mom's money was accessible. Text messages planning how to isolate Mom from family. I've been gathering this for years, waiting for Jessica to do it again so I could stop her, so I could get justice for Mom. She looked at me. You're not alone, Alyssa. I'm going to help you take her down. Not just for you, for my mother. For every person Jessica has hurt or might hurt in the future. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. We spent the entire day planning. Maria, Lauren, Frank, Helen, Tyler, and me gathered around Frank's dining table, documents spread everywhere. We need more than just evidence of what Jessica did to her mother, Maria said. We need Jessica to incriminate herself, to confess to the current abuse. She'll never do that, I said. She's too smart. Lauren shook her head. Jessica's smart, but she's also arrogant. When she thinks she's won, she gloats. I've seen it. If we can make her think she's completely in control, she'll drop her mask. How do we do that? Frank asked. Maria pulled out a small device from her briefcase. We wire Alyssa. She reaches out to Jessica, says she wants to negotiate. They meet somewhere public, neutral. Alyssa plays defeated, broken. Jessica's guard comes down. We record everything. That's risky, Frank said. If Jessica realizes what's happening. It's our best shot, Maria said. Lauren's evidence establishes a pattern. Tyler's new testimony will help. But if we can get Jessica to admit to the current abuse on tape, that's definitive. I looked at the recording device. So small, but it represented my only path to freedom. I'll do it. That afternoon, I called Jessica from a borrowed phone. My hands shook as I dialed. She answered on the third ring. What do you want, Alyssa? To talk. To negotiate. I can't do this anymore, Jessica. You win. Silence. Then, cautious interest. What do you mean? I'm tired. I'm sick. I just want this to stop. Can we meet? Somewhere quiet. Just talk, the two of us. Why would I meet with you? Because I'm ready to give you what you want. I just need to understand the terms. More silence. I could almost hear her thinking, calculating. There's a coffee shop on Maple Street. Corner booth. Tomorrow at 10 in the morning. I'll be there. She hung up. I looked at Maria. She agreed. Good. Now we prepare you. The next morning, Maria wired me. The recording device was tiny, hidden in my jacket lining. Frank and Lauren would be in the coffee shop, pretending to be strangers. Maria would be in a car outside, listening. Remember, Maria coached me. Play defeated, hopeless. Make her think she's won. Get her to talk about the plan, about what she wants from you. And whatever happens, stay calm. Don't let her provoke you into anger. What if she searches me? She won't. She thinks you're broken. People who think they've won get sloppy. I drove to the coffee shop alone, arriving 15 minutes early. I ordered tea I wouldn't drink and sat in the corner booth, my heart racing. Jessica arrived precisely at 10. She looked perfect, as always. Hair glossy, makeup impeccable, wearing casual clothes that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. She slid into the booth across from me. You look terrible. I've been in the hospital. I heard. Stress-related, they said. Her tone suggested she didn't care. Jessica, I need to understand something. What do you want from me? She leaned back, studying me. Why should I tell you anything? Because I'm ready to give up. I'll sign whatever you want. I just need to know what happens to me after. Jessica's expression shifted, not to sympathy, to satisfaction. You'll sign over complete guardianship. Ryan and I will manage all your finances. We'll find you a nice assisted living facility, something affordable. You'll be taken care of. What about my money? The $300 I have left? Jessica waved a hand. Alyssa, what money? You've spent everything. On us, on the house, on the kids. There's nothing left. I had $12,000 last week. Did you? Memory problems are so common at your age. She said it casually, cruelly. I forced myself to stay calm. What about the $175,000 I gave you and Ryan 4 years ago? The money for Tyler's college? That was a gift, Alyssa. You wanted to help with Tyler's education. Is it still there? In an account for him? Jessica's mask slipped slightly. Annoyance flickered across her face. Money doesn't last forever. We've had expenses. So, it's gone? You gave it to us freely. It's not your concern anymore. I took a breath. Like your mother's money? Jessica's eyes narrowed. What did you say? Your mother, Margaret. She had $300,000. Then she had nothing. My mother was losing her mind. She spent that money. On what? That's none of your business. Did you take it? The way you're taking mine? Jessica leaned forward, her voice dropping to a hiss. My mother was different. She was actually losing her mind. You? You're just a bitter old woman who can't accept that your son chose his wife over you. So you're doing to me what you did to her? Your husband left you $250,000 when he died. You gave half to us, spent the rest. Now you have nothing and nobody. That's your own fault." She leaned closer, and I could see the coldness in her eyes. "Sign the papers, Alyssa. Go to the home we choose. At least you'll have a bed and 3 meals. Fight us, and you'll end up on the street. Sick, alone, broken. Your choice." "And if I told you everything you just said was recorded?" Jessica's face went white, then flushed red. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Maria and Lauren stood up from their tables across the coffee shop, walking toward us. Lauren smiled at her sister. "Hi, Jessica. Remember me?" Jessica looked between us, realization dawning. "You can't. This is entrapment." "It's not," Maria said calmly. "Mrs. Henderson called you voluntarily. You agreed to meet. You confessed to financial abuse freely. All on tape." Jessica stood abruptly, knocking over her coffee. "This won't hold up in court." "Want to bet?" Lauren said. "Because I have more evidence. About Mom. About everything you've done. This time, you're not getting away with it." Jessica looked panicked. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked scared. She grabbed her purse and ran. Actually ran out of the coffee shop, leaving her spilled coffee and her composure behind. Lauren watched her go. "She'll try one more thing. She always does." "What do you mean?" I asked. "When cornered, Jessica goes on the offensive. She'll file some kind of counterclaim, try to flip the narrative. We need to be ready." That evening, we found out Lauren was right. Jessica filed an emergency petition, claiming I had assaulted her in the coffee shop. She got a temporary restraining order. Simultaneously, she and Ryan withdrew thousands of dollars from their accounts and pulled Tyler out of school early. "They're preparing to run," Maria said, reading the court filings. "But there's more." Jessica had filed a counter-lawsuit. She was now claiming that I had been harassing and stalking her, that I was dangerous, that I should face criminal charges. Complete reversal. She was trying to make herself the victim. "The hearing is in 2 days," Maria said. "This is her final play. If it works, you could face criminal charges. If it doesn't, she's finished." 2 days. Everything came down to 2 days. That night, Tyler showed up at Frank's house with a box. "I went back home to get some things," he said, "and I found these in Mom's office." He opened the box. Inside were financial documents Jessica had kept, detailed spreadsheets of every withdrawal from my accounts, notes in Jessica's handwriting about timing, a draft letter to an attorney asking about expediting guardianship proceedings for elderly family member, dated 6 months ago. "This proves premeditation," Maria said, examining the documents. "This is everything we need." Tyler looked at me. "I'm testifying. Against them. I don't care what it costs me." "Tyler, you could lose everything. Grandma, you're the only family that ever really mattered. I'm 18. I'll figure it out. But I won't lie for them anymore." 2 days later, we walked into court for the final hearing. The courtroom was packed. Word had spread about the case. Some local reporters were even there. Jessica and Ryan's lawyer looked confident, but Jessica herself looked rattled. Ryan sat beside her, pale and sweating. Judge Morrison called the court to order. "This is a hearing on multiple issues. The counter-lawsuit alleging harassment, the motion to revoke the temporary conservatorship, and new evidence in the original guardianship case. Mr. Patterson, you may begin." Jessica's lawyer stood, but before he could speak, Maria stood as well. "Your Honor, I'd like to present new evidence before we hear opening statements. Evidence that fundamentally changes this case." Judge Morrison nodded. "Proceed." Maria called Lauren Bradley to the stand first. Lauren testified about their mother, about the $300,000 that disappeared, about Jessica's pattern of targeting vulnerable family members. She presented bank records, emails, text messages, everything she'd been gathering for 6 years. "My sister is a predator, Your Honor. She isolated our mother, drained her accounts, and left her to die alone in a nursing home. Now she's doing the exact same thing to Mrs. Henderson." Jessica's lawyer objected repeatedly, but Judge Morrison allowed the testimony. The pattern was too clear to ignore. Next, Maria played the recording from the coffee shop. The courtroom went silent as Jessica's voice filled the room, her casual cruelty, her admission that the money was gone, her threat, "Sign the papers or end up on the street," sick and broken. When the recording ended, Judge Morrison's face was hard. "Mrs. Bradley, do you deny that this is your voice?" Jessica's lawyer whispered urgently to her. She looked trapped. "That conversation was taken out of context," Jessica said weakly. "Context?" Judge Morrison said. "Please, enlighten us." Jessica couldn't. There was no context that made those words acceptable. Tyler was called next. My grandson walked to the stand with his head high. "Tyler, you're here of your own free will?" Judge Morrison asked. "Yes, Your Honor. I'm here to tell the truth, even though it's about my parents." Tyler told everything. The lies he'd been told to say, the conversation he'd overheard about his college fund being gone, the documents he'd found in Jessica's office. Maria presented those documents, the spreadsheets, the notes, the letter dated 6 months ago planning the guardianship. "This wasn't a concerned family trying to help," Maria said. "This was a calculated financial crime." Ryan, sitting at the defendant's table, suddenly stood up. "Your Honor, I need to say something." His lawyer tried to stop him, but Ryan shook him off. "May I approach?" Judge Morrison looked surprised but nodded. "Come forward, Mr. Henderson." Ryan walked to the witness stand without being sworn in, without permission from his lawyer. He just started talking. "Your Honor, I've been a coward. I've lied. I've helped my wife steal from my own mother. I'm guilty. I deserve whatever punishment comes." Jessica grabbed his arm, hissing at him to shut up. He pulled away. "We're in debt. Over $200,000. The business is failing. We spent my mother's money years ago. Jessica said the only way out was to get control of Mom's remaining assets. Her Social Security, her pension, everything. We planned it. The power of attorney, the birthday dinner exclusion, to provoke her into leaving, the guardianship petition, all of it." Ryan looked at me, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Dad would be ashamed of me. I'm ashamed of me. You deserved better. You deserved a son who protected you." Jessica was screaming now, her lawyer trying to restore order. But Ryan kept talking. "My mother is the victim here, not Jessica. Mom never did anything wrong. She just trusted the wrong people. She trusted us." Judge Morrison called for order. The courtroom was chaos. Jessica was on her feet, yelling at Ryan. Her lawyer was trying to salvage something. Reporters were scribbling frantically. Finally, order was restored. Judge Morrison looked at Jessica and Ryan with barely concealed disgust. "I have seen many cases in my years on the bench, but I have never witnessed such calculated, cruel abuse of trust and family." She turned to Jessica. "Mrs. Bradley, you systematically targeted a vulnerable woman who had just lost her husband. You manipulated her into signing over control of her finances. You isolated her from her family. You drained her accounts. And when she tried to escape, you used the legal system as a weapon against her. The temporary conservatorship is immediately revoked. All of Mrs. Henderson's rights are fully restored. Furthermore, I am ordering you and your husband to repay every penny taken from Mrs. Henderson's accounts. You have 30 days. Finally, I am referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution. The charges will include elder financial abuse, fraud, and perjury." She looked at the bailiff. "Take Mrs. Bradley into custody." Jessica's face went from red to white. "You can't do this. I have rights." "You have the right to remain silent," the bailiff said, handcuffing her. "Anything you say can be used against you." Jessica screamed and fought as they led her from the courtroom. Ryan sat with his head in his hands, sobbing. Tyler came to me, and I pulled him into a hug. "It's over, Grandma. It's finally over." 6 months later, I sat in my new apartment. It was small, just a one-bedroom on the second floor of an older building. But it was mine. The walls were cream-colored, the floors were hardwood, and sunlight poured through the windows every morning. I'd gotten a settlement from Jessica and Ryan. Not everything I'd lost, but enough. $40,000. Combined with my Social Security and George's pension, I could live modestly but comfortably. My health had improved dramatically once the stress lifted. My blood pressure was normal. I slept through the night. I'd even started volunteering at a senior center, helping other elderly people recognize signs of financial abuse. Tyler lived with me now. He'd moved in 2 months ago, after Ryan's house went into foreclosure. Tyler was attending community college, working part-time at a bookstore, paying his own way. Every evening, we had dinner together. Real conversation. Real family. "Grandma, I got my grades today," Tyler said, walking into the kitchen with his laptop. 3.7 GPA. "I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. Without this." He gestured around the small apartment. "This is the first place that's felt like home in years." Ryan came by once a week. Our relationship was healing, slowly. He'd pled guilty to fraud, got probation, and community service. He was in therapy, working through how he'd let Jessica control him for so long. "Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me," he'd said at his first visit, "but I want you to know I'm trying to become the man Dad would have wanted me to be." "You're my son," I'd told him. "I love you. But trust takes time." We were building something new, something honest. Jessica's trial had been quick. Lauren testified. I testified. The evidence was overwhelming. She was convicted of multiple counts of elder financial abuse and fraud, 4 years in prison, restitution to me and to her mother's estate. Lauren and I had become friends. She visited every few weeks, and we'd have coffee and talk about her mother, about healing, about justice. "For Mom," Lauren had whispered at the sentencing hearing. "For both our mothers," I'd replied. Now, 6 months later, I sat at my kitchen table with George's photo beside me. "I did it," I told the picture. "I fought back. I survived. I even thrived." Tyler came out of his room. "Who are you talking to?" "Your grandfather." What would he say if he were here? I thought about it. George had been quiet, steady, strong. He'd taught me that love meant protecting each other, standing up for each other. He'd say he was proud, that I fought for myself, that I taught you to stand up for what's right. Tyler smiled. He'd be right. The next day was Tyler's 19th birthday. We kept it simple. Dinner at a modest Italian restaurant. Frank and Helen joined us. Lauren came too. The 5 of us squeezed into a booth, laughing, sharing stories. "A toast," Frank said, raising his glass. "To family. Real family." "To Grandma," Tyler added. "The strongest person I know." "To new beginnings," Lauren said. I raised my glass, looking at the people around the table. My brother, my sister-in-law, my grandson, my friend. This was family. Not blood obligation or guilt or control, but choice, respect, and love. "To fighting back," I said. "To refusing to disappear." We clinked glasses, and I felt George's presence, like he was there at the table with us, proud, peaceful. I wasn't rich. I wasn't young. But I was free. I was strong. I was home. And I would never be anyone's victim again. I learned so much through this ordeal. I learned that being family doesn't give anyone the right to abuse you. Love without respect isn't love at all. It's manipulation wearing a mask. I learned that asking for help isn't weakness. When I reached out to Frank, when I trusted Maria and Lauren, when I let people stand beside me, that's when I became strongest. I learned that you're never too old to fight back. At 63, I thought I was powerless, but I wasn't. I had my voice, my truth, and my refusal to be erased. Most importantly, I learned that dignity can't be taken from you. It can only be surrendered, and I refused to surrender mine. If you're facing something similar, if someone in your family is treating you like a servant, controlling your money, erasing your voice, please know this: you deserve better. You deserve respect. And it's never too late to stand up for yourself. The path isn't easy. There were days I wanted to give up, days I thought I'd lost everything. But on the other side of that fight is freedom, peace, the ability to look yourself in the mirror and know you didn't let them win. You're stronger than you think. You're worth fighting for. And you're not alone. What would you do if you were in my situation? Would you have left that house, or would you have stayed and tried to work it out? Have you ever had to stand up to family members who didn't respect you? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched you, please give it a like. It helps others who might need to hear this message find it. Subscribe to hear more stories about standing up, fighting back, and reclaiming your life. And share this with someone who might need the reminder that they're stronger than they know. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you find the courage to fight for yourself, whatever battle you're facing. You deserve peace. You deserve dignity. You deserve love that respects you. Take care of yourselves. And remember, it's never too late to come home to yourself.